Well, hello there. I'm coming at you through this zoetrope contraption here. I'm dead now, but I want to tell you my story. So, let me introduce myself. My name is Joshua Norton. You can call me Emperor Norton. My pronoun is Your Majesty. And I arrived here in this fair city of San Francisco in 1849, right when a gold rush was taking off in San Francisco. I was 28 years old and using money that I had inherited from my father before leaving Algoa Bay, South Africa, I began buying and selling goods. I had a whole warehouse full of dry goods. And I thought I was onto something. In 1852, a rice famine in China caused a great shortage of rice in San Francisco. The price of rice went from 4 cents a pound to nearly 36 cents a pound. And as this was happening, I was given a chance to buy a shipload of rice at 12.5 cents a pound. I thought I was going to triple my money. So I invested nearly all that I had, about $12,000. That would be about $350,000 in your dollars today. But unfortunately for me, 3 ships showed up in San Francisco Harbor, came from Peru, filled with rice, flooded the market. The price dropped down to 3 cents a pound, and I was ruined. So not knowing what to do, I went away for a couple of years. I went up to the town of Petaluma up in Sonoma. And then when I came back in 1859, I was 39 years old at that point, I went to the newspaper and I made my grand proclamation. I said, at the preeminatory request of a large majority of these citizens of the United States, I, Joshua Norton, formerly of Algoa Bay, Cape of Good Hope, and now for the past 9 years and 10 months of San Francisco, California, declare and proclaim myself Emperor of these United States, and by the virtue thereby vested in me, do hereby order and declare and direct the representatives of the different states of the Union to assemble in the musical hall of this city on the 1st of February next. That's what I was going to do. That's what I did. In my reign, I made a number of decrees. Some were national. I including abolishing Congress and ordering the army to clear the halls of the Capitol. That was a popular idea. Some of my decrees were more local. I suggested that we should prevent gunfights, which was a common means of settling a dispute back then. I also decreed that newly arrived immigrants should be protected from the rapacity of landlords and assisted in their business. And once I stood before a mob of anti-Chinese troublemakers bent on attacking some of the residents of our Chinatown, and I said the Lord's Prayer until they dispersed. Now you might be wondering if I was a religious man. Now while I was raised Jewish, I attended all the different houses of worship in San Francisco. I did not want any of them to become jealous that the emperor was favoring them. I became well known about town. Mark Twain, that 2-bit writer, used my image as the king character in Huckleberry Finn. But unlike the king, I was not a drunk. I might have 1 drink a day if I was bought one by a newspaper reporter wanting a quote from me because they knew their quotes from the emperor sold newspapers. Once, would you believe it, I was arrested for vagrancy. The insult. I produced to the police officer my room key from my flop house and some money in my pocket to show that I was not a vagrant, but they kept me in jail overnight, saying I was a lunatic. The next day, while the commissioner of lunacy set me free, not only set me free, but upbraided the arresting officer. And from that point forward, the constabulary saluted me as I passed on the street, as is befitting of an emperor. Now you might be wondering how I supported myself. A reasonable question. I had given up my dry goods business when I'd been ruined by that rice glut. But an emperor, of course, can issue his own currency And so I did. I offered promissory bonds ranging from 50 cents to $10. Restaurants and my boarding house accepted this as legal tender. You might be wondering how I ate. Well, at that time, saloons would set out lunch counters of salty food. For the cost of a drink, you could eat all you wanted. It's because they knew that salty foods sold more drinks. But I didn't drink much. No more than a glass a day, like I said. Now, I spent most of my days inspecting the streets of San Francisco and conversing with my subjects. It was well known that I could hold court on just about any subject with the utmost intelligence and eloquence. My presence was sought after at theater openings across the city, where I was held front row seats and given a standing ovation upon my arrival. I had many good ideas, one of which you might know something about. I suggested we should build a suspension bridge from San Francisco to Oakland by way of Goat Island. You call it Yerba Buena now. And we should build a train tunnel too. But perhaps my favorite decree was this one. Whoever, after due and proper warning, shall be heard to utter the abominable word Frisco, which has no linguistic or other warrant, shall be deemed guilty of a high misdemeanor, and shall pay into the Imperial Treasury the penalty sum of $25. I reigned for over 21 years in the young city of San Francisco. When I collapsed and died at the age of 60 while I was on my way to a debate at California and Grant Street, 10,000 people attended my funeral, which was paid for by the merchants of San Francisco. And after being buried for some years in one of the old cemeteries on Lone Mountain, I was later moved to Colma, along with the other dead folks that had to be moved, where I still lie today. When they went through my flop house after I died, they found my walking staffs, my uniforms, and a few coins worth about $5. So I ask you, was I mad? We'll come back to that.